Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Monday with the Mayor. I'm Bradford Raths, and we're back in Jasper to see Terry Seitz.
Good day, Bradford.
Good day, Mayor.
You're styling, man.
Thank you, thank you.
I've not kept my end of the bargain has not been kept up.
We all have our days.
Yeah, we do, and this is kind of a little bit of a dress down. I think I've had suits and ties on for 8 straight days, so this is a little bit of a break.
Hey, there you go. I don't
Thanks.
blame you one bit.
Feels good.
So, last week's rain is still causing issues as we look at Monday here. Some advice?
Well, advice I think is very natural. I don't think it's really needed for me to give advice that comes from public safety professionals, but certainly, you know, as we have heavy rains as we've had, and maybe potentially even for some more this week, there's just eventually becomes nowhere for the water to go. And the main release of the water in this area is the Patoka River, and downstream it's full. It was a broad-based rain. Patoka Reservoir holds in what they can, but there's still 19 miles of Patoka River roughly between the dam and Jasper, and then when it goes through Jasper, it still has to go somewhere else. Winslow or all the way down towards the Wabash. So eventually it just becomes a challenge. Road conditions, side streets, things like that. You know, certainly outside the city limits of Jasper, the counties had their challenges, and it's not so much a safety issue. Just allow yourself some extra time, and for some reason, if you ever do find yourself making a decision between, do I drive through that water because I think the road's there, or don't I? Just say don't. With the recent death of the young woman on Highway 257 north of Otwell, I think it just underscores again, you just don't go what you can't see.
Absolutely. And now moving forward, back in December we had the Downtown Riverfront Master Plan, but you now have an update.
Well, I think it's appropriate that we've been asked a lot, you know, first of all, when that's adopted, it's a master plan. So plan basically then turns into details, et cetera, engineering. We began that process, entered into a first phase of some design of 2 critical components of the 5-part plan. That is the Courthouse Square area and the riverfront area. We're going into a more design phase of those. In addition, we are continuing our hydrological study, and that's a long-term thing that takes an understanding of what the water in the river does, what could eventually be utilized or built along that area, and if it was built, what restrictions would it have? Would it need to have some berming or things like that in the floodway or floodplain? So those are extensions of that. They are the mundane things that for the general public certainly don't have any sizzle, but for people that eventually could develop in the area or for our city use in the area, we need to know. The zoning and review and also the subdivision control ordinances, that is a build out of that as well, because ultimately it's part of what do things look like and what is Jasper shaped like over the next several years. But fundamentally, I can tell you we have engaged or either been engaged by at least one group, person, or organization every week asking or inquiring about this structure, that structure. Tell me a little bit more about this property. I mean, I like to have this idea. What do you think? Is this something that has been asked before? I like what the plans have been made. How could I look at putting my business in there? In addition, we've continued to have City Vision back with the design, but also to give input and updates to the downtown merchants, to Rojack, to kind of let those groups know where the design phase is at, and putting more basically finer drawings to these 2 particular areas. And ultimately then also getting out some potential costs. In addition, at the last council meeting, we received an update of potential methods to fund what projects we would like to do. And that being said, we're looking right now at what we have in existing funds that we could potentially use or reappropriate for maybe prior years that were not utilized, that essentially remain in our funds. And then also to help us reach the decision, do we want to do some bonding authority? So all that being said, there are things happening. It seems infinitesimally slow to me. The public, I haven't really heard that people are waiting for things to happen immediately, but ultimately I know things do take time. I'm just very amazed by the continued positive nature and the inquiries we've received. People are playing with ideas. You know, of course, ideas are followed by reality, financing, for us, for the city, whether there's infrastructure there in areas that maybe lack that, and what our next steps are. How could, if I'm going to go there, so are these plans you laid out, how are you going to get that street built, or how's that North Riverwalk going to come into play? It's excellent discussion. At that point, you want to just immediately go, well, let's just announce something and do something, and we're just not quite there yet. And I'm patient. Wasn't planning on being that patient in my life, but I've had to be with this. Just the positive response and vibes we get are great. Things will happen. We will have some dominoes fall. I'm very confident of that.
Yeah, and getting all the outside attention never hurts, too.
Absolutely. I will say this, as much as anything, we have created a significant amount of attention locally just by kind of dreaming. And dreaming, I say, with a reality-based dreaming. When City Visions was hired on, they promised us that they would not give anything that could not be delivered. In other words, no pie in the sky, no 10-story buildings in downtown Jasper, things that weren't feasible. And what they've laid out for us, people have then taken off their own ideas and said, hey, you think this would work, and how about that? And ultimately, we know if it's private sector asking this, which most have been, they've got to look at, yeah, we think that's viable. Can you play that a step further? Can you afford to do that? Or have you talked to the building owner or something like that? And I find this time rather fun, but just want to update the public that doesn't automatically get someone in the Jasper Cabinet Building tomorrow. That doesn't automatically get the courthouse square redone tomorrow. All this plays in a kind of comprehensive fashion, and that takes time. But the fact that we have elevated this to a great level of public interest and discussion, including that from the private sector as far as investing, yeah, that we've done, and I'm very happy for that.
Well, at this point, seems like the patience will pay off.
I hope so. That's all I can ask.
All right. Well, Mayor, we appreciate your time. This has been this week's edition of Monday with the Mayor. We'll have more news after this.